Welcome, Sisters in Song. Can you take a minute to introduce yourself? Tell us where you're coming to us from.
Sure. My name is Cole Quest of Cole Quest and the City Pickers, and I'm coming to you from my apartment in downtown Brooklyn.
Very cool. And when people are listening to this, some people will be able to see it on YouTube, but others, I love all of your plants in the background. It's like quite the array of plants. It's very
This is what
cool.
happens during the winter. They all come inside.
Yep.
Yes, because it's starting to get cold.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
Well,
gosh.
we are so excited to have you on the show. We're going to pick your brain about all things music and
Yes.
songwriting and all of that stuff. So we'll get started.
All right.
Sounds good.
Tell us how you got started in this crazy business as a musician.
Um, it's a long tale. It all started, no, but it was, yeah, I mean, my family are musicians, and so greatly influenced by them. To be honest, my father bought me a guitar when I was 10 years old, so I've been playing music mostly my whole life. But then about 15 years ago, 12 years ago, something like that, I was getting bored with playing guitar, and I was looking to change things up and find a new. I was hungry for more music and didn't know what I was doing, so I went and I bought a mandolin at Guitar Center randomly. I didn't know how to play it. I didn't know what I was doing, um, but I went and I bought it, and within a week or so, I had just moved into a new apartment in Astoria, Queens, and I randomly decided to go for a walk to explore the new neighborhood. And I stopped at the first pub that I found, which was right at the end of the block. And there was an Irish pub, and I walked in and there was a jam session happening. There was a session of bluegrass music happening. I didn't know what bluegrass music was. It just sounded like folk musicians who had way too much energy. So it was just ramped up, super energetic folk music. And they were playing a song that I knew from Woody as Going Down the Road Feeling Bad. And they were playing it just super energetically. And I was like, what is going on here? So I ended up talking to the host of the jam after when they were on their break. And he was like, this is an open session. If you've got one of the bluegrass instruments of a guitar, a mandolin, a banjo, bass, fiddle, come on down and play. And I was like, I got a mandolin across the street. And he said, well, go get it. And I did. And then I ended up showing up to that session every week for about 5 years, learning the ropes, learning the catalog, learning the techniques of mandolin. And at some point in that journey, also, I found a dobro player showed up one day, and I had been experimenting with open tunings on my guitar, trying to play slide guitar and struggling with it. And I even tried placing it on my lap and playing lap style, and I was really enjoying that. And then I walked into the jam and a guy had a dobro, and I was like, what in the name is that thing, dude? And he's like, it's a dobro. And then he actually had an extra one he let me borrow, and I borrowed it for about 3 months. Ended up purchasing my very first dobro, which is the same dobro I play today. So I've been doing it for the last 15 years.
What a
Love
cool
this.
story.
It is a cool story. Now, here's my question. Were any of those folks who were in these jam sessions part of the City Pickers?
Yes, they are. Actually, Christian, the guitar player, and we must have my first time there and his first time there were within 2 weeks of each other.
Funny,
Um,
wow.
and he comes from a totally different background. He's a classically trained vocal performer. And so he has like a musical background professionally, and so I was more of just like I play guitar solos in my bedroom, man, kind of guy. And so we both just showed up at the same time. And actually, it's so funny that we're doing this. I was wearing a shirt that said Old Crow Medicine Show. I was just wearing that shirt. I just took it off. I was doing my workout in it. And I was wearing that shirt though. And one of the jam guys was like, "Oh, you got to meet Christian. He's new to this jam too, and he's a really great singer or whatever." And so he was like, "Hey, cool shirt, man." And I was like, "Thanks. I really like them." And he's like, "Me too." And so we hit it off. And honestly, we've been like musical partners ever since then. That's also where I met the harmonica player and the banjo player in the band. So
Wow.
we've been friends and playing together for a long time.
That's so fun. Are there other people that make up the band, or is it the four of you?
There's one more, there's a bass player, and the bass player is a good friend of mine, but I didn't meet him at that particular jam. I met him at some other jam within the next 5 years.
I love this. This is so
Do y'all ever go back and still play there?
Christian, I think, went back like maybe 2 months ago, and I would go back, but I don't live in Astoria anymore,
You're far
so
now.
it's just a little far for me. So it's mostly about the convenience of it. But the
Yeah.
same jam is still happening. They switched to a bar down the street, but it's the same people, same bartender. So yeah,
That's
it's
really
the Irish
cool.
whiskey bar jam that happens every Sunday night.
So much
Very
fun.
cool. So we need to talk about the album you all put out this year.
Yes.
Tell us how that came to
Sure.
be.
Well, we got a funny, longer story that I'll try to keep short is we had an offer to go on tour in Germany a couple of years back. And when we did, while we were out there, we had recorded an album previously called Self-Entitled, and it's like a 6-track EP. And so we were going to Germany, and right before we left, the producer of that album, Steve Rosenthal, was like, "Hey, while you're there, you guys are gonna get really good. You're gonna be on tour for 20 days. You should probably try to record or get some of the board recordings and maybe make like a live album or something like that." And I said, "That's a really great idea." So we tried to get a bunch of live recordings, but honestly, I don't know if this is a lost in translation or I don't understand how these kinds of things work or what it was, but we never really got a good performance of the songs that we were looking for. And so we ended up coming back and I said, we're really tight right now. And we've been playing these songs. We played these songs for the last couple of months, and we're feeling really good about it. Maybe we should just go into the studio right now. So that was effectively what we did. And we've had a couple of left and right turns since then, but that was basically the initiative that kind of got us hungry for going back into the studio was a bunch of material that we had been playing and really enjoying that we wanted to record.
And it's a fun, good, great album.
Yeah.
I'm interested to know
Yeah.
who does most of the writing, or do you do it together?
On this album, all of the original material has been me. I am consistently writing. Oh, I kind of forgot one thing to add to the last question. Part of it was that we had been performing the material. That's, I guess, how the technical aspect of it came about. But the material itself was collected over a few years of initiatives of me songwriting and putting stuff into the band and songs. We're always having new songs in our rotation. And so I narrowed down a larger set of music into this concept, which ended up being Homegrown, which follows this idea of where we come from musically. So there's my own songwriting. There's songwriting by Woody. There's a song in Portuguese. Our harmonica player is from Brazil. So this is a song from his home country. And so Christian sings the song In Tall Buildings, which was a huge inspirational song for him to leave his former profession as a teacher to do music full time as a musician. So a lot of the tales of all of the material that we ended up choosing for the album are from where we come from. And in fact, one of the songs is called Where I'm From. So
Yes.
that was almost the title track of the album, but I like the idea of homegrown a little bit more because it's not necessarily about where I'm from, it's where we all come from and how we grow over time. In fact, All Work Together is a song that Arlo recorded when I was very little, and I have been listening to since I was little. So this is like a song I've grown up with. And now we've grown into our own, and we are now making it our own in our own way. So, and it's, that song, the lyrics were written by Woody. Arlo put the music to it years later, and now we're performing it. So it's really growing over the generation.
Yeah, homegrown sounds like a
The title.
Yes, that's and thank you for sharing that how it came to be because it's so interesting for us to hear all of those background stories, and I know it is for our listeners too.
Yep.
So
For
this
sure.
this is fascinating. What do you think is the hardest part of being a musician? And are you guys getting ready to? I mean, have you been touring this album? How's that
Yeah,
going?
we've done some touring. We kind of September was our heavy touring month. We did a couple of runs for like a couple of weeks. We were also doing shows throughout August and July as well. And we played on Saturday, this past Saturday night up in Westchester, up in Rockland County, and we've got a show tomorrow night at Drum in New York City. And we have the Brooklyn Folk Festival this upcoming weekend. And then next weekend, we go to Charleston, West Virginia for Mountain Stage. So we
That's
are
awesome.
absolutely touring and trying to get the album out to as many people as we can. To answer your first part of the question, the hardest part about being a musician, I'm not sure if it's about being a musician, but it's the band leader role is quite taxing. It's a full-time job. And to be clear, I also have a full-time job on top of it. So I have two full-time jobs. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the toughest part, honestly, is just corralling the situations, making sure that, first of all, I'm a member of the band as well as the band leader, and those are almost two different roles. So I do everything from the songwriting and making sure that I feel like the songs are the right songs for this band to perform. I write a lot of songs, but I'll tell you, 70% of them don't make it into this project because it's just not the right sound or arrangement or whatever for this band. So there's a lot of that. So the songwriting is one part. Another part is just simply organizational and making sure everyone's informed and when everyone's available. And the mission of the band is really kind of like a couple of different parts. One is an outlet for me to write my own material and to put that out. But another mission, as part of the mission, is that these bandmates are absolutely phenomenal musicians that might not have these opportunities without me. And I think with the Woody Guthrie name, people are immediately interested and they say, hey, Woody Guthrie's grandson, what's he doing? And so it's a little bit of I can be the connector to say, well, here's what I'm doing, but look at what Christian's doing. Or look what this harmonica player, Mateus, is doing things on the harmonica that most people wouldn't dream of. So like it's a lot about expressing and getting these guys heard of. And then of course, third part of it is these are working class musicians. It's just, another part of it is to make sure that these guys get paid for their time and their dues, and they get to have experiences while being compensated for it. And so that's kind of the three pillars that we have the band has been founded on. So making sure that all of that always happens right, while also being remembering all the words. That's always a really hard one for me. I struggle with that. So working hard to be a musician in the band while also doing it, I'd say that's kind of the hardest part about it for me.
Sounds like you're doing a good job. Yeah, making sure everyone's getting paid. I'm sure they appreciate it.
Yes.
It's harder than you think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure. I love the idea of the band having a mission. That's you don't hear that very often from people we've talked to in the past. So that just kind of keeps, if you all have that in mind, it keeps you on the same path and on the same page. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah, really cool. And have you played Mountain Stage before?
No, this is our first time, so we're very excited and really looking forward to everything that Mountain Stage is. I've listened to the performances and so I know all about Mountain Stage, but first timers.
Yeah. Well, congrats. That's very, very cool. Yep. So going back to writing, so you said you kind of do most of the onus for writing. How do you know when a song is truly finished?
That's a great question. And I don't have when it's 42, I don't have a real good answer. I will say it's interesting because I have a gut feeling of when it's what I would call good enough that it's worthy of performing to people. But it's funny that you say that because just the other day when we were on tour, Christian, our guitar player, put on our first album, and we listened to some of those songs, and like they maybe aren't finished now that I'm listening back to it. So, you know, I don't know that they ever are finished. I think they just get to a spot where, I mean, the way I think about it is I write the song at, you know, generally at home or wherever I am, and I work on it in my brain so that I know what I want, what it should sound like. And then I bring it to the band, and they have a whole bunch of different ideas. And then it starts changing. And so there's like phase one is like me by myself. Phase two is like get it to the band and then let them, all of their musicianship, run with it. And then if we feel good about that, then we start to perform it. And then as soon as we start performing it, this is like phase three, it starts to develop again. It has a new life cycle where, oh, well, this arrangement that we thought sounded good when we were rehearsing it, when we perform it live, doesn't necessarily have that same feel. So maybe we want to add something, or maybe we want to take something away. Maybe we don't need it to be so complex. Maybe simpler is a little bit better for the listener. So it kind of iterates over time. And to the point of our album, that was one of the things that happened with the album was we had some of these originals, and once we played them for a while, they really started to get into the pocket and started to really take form, both musically and also as their own identity. And so that's kind of how, when we were putting the record together, I figured out which songs were the right songs to pull into this record.
When you are writing, do you find that you come up with lyrics first, or is it melody, or how does that work for you? Or is it everything comes to you at once?
I have been wrestling with that question for so many years. I have talked to so many songwriters about it, and it's so interesting. It's a great question because I always think about this. For me, most of the time, I guess in my earlier songwriting days, I would start with the words and I would then try to pair it with a melody. Sometimes I still do that, but I would say the songs that are really the best ones, the ones that come out really crystal clear and really well, the melody and the lyrics show up at the same time.
Sure.
And that's generally what I would consider the most successful songs, or the better songs, is the ones where they both show up at the same time. We have a new original where actually I very intentionally, because of that concept, decided no lyrics, just melody, and just make it sound good, and then layer in words. I was actually listening to an interview with the famous producer. I think he produced like Red Hot Chili Peppers and like all these rock and roll bands. And he was like, we went into the studio and they're trying to write words for the songs. And it's like, you're just trying to write words that sound good. It doesn't even have to make any sense. As long as the sonic aspect of it sounds really good, that might be all that you need. So I very intentionally wrote a song recently called Sydney Luley, which is just about the opportunity I was trying to make for myself was to just have it sound good and nothing else. I kind of failed in that because there ended up being a storyline, but I kind of didn't really want there to be one, but that's just how it comes out sometimes. And so, yeah, I definitely think about that all the time. And I've done a little bit of everything, but I think the ones that I like the best, the ones that show up at the same time. Or, I mean, where I come from, taking a previous melody and changing the words is called the folk process.
That's right.
And so sometimes an idea for lyrics might show up at my door, and I maybe can already hear a melody from a different song and be like, oh, I don't need to reinvent the wheel here. These words go with this melody, and that's perfect, and that's how it should be. For example, again, we have another new song that I just wrote last November called Tuesdays Come Around Again, which is like about literally yesterday, election day. And the melody is from a song called Liza Jane that I got from a Doc Watson recording. And I was like, this fits exactly, the words and this go together. The concept really fits really well. So I basically just took that progression. We made some arrangement changes and like there's an A section and a B section. We do 2 A's and 2 B's instead of an A and a B, that kind of thing. But like the chord progression is the same. So yeah, so there's a little bit of that too.
Fascinating.
Can you or do you read music, or do you do it all by ear?
I don't read music. I do pretty much everything by ear. I mean, I can read music, but it's very slow. It's like
Sounds like us.
Yeah, it's like it's not very functional. I mean, I definitely in fact, actually I was just messaging with a friend earlier today about I'd like to join there's a choir I'm going to hopefully maybe join or whatever. And because I find that they do very basic and simplistic sight reading that I think would help improve that as well as singing, which is great and fun, and I want to do that too. So
great idea of how to get yourself, hone your skills up in that.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about performing, because I know you guys are performing with this new album. Do you remember what your very first performance was before going into that Astoria pub?
Well, the first performance ever that I ever did was my 5th grade graduation.
I love it.
I had a couple of friends that I'm still close with, actually. I actually saw one of them last week, and we made a little band with like keyboard and 2 electric guitars and a drum, and we played like Louie Louie at our graduation and like musical chairs and stuff like that. And I think we've also played White Room by Cream. So yeah, it was, rock and roll band in my 5th grade. That was the first one. And I was in bands throughout middle school and high school as well with friends and stuff like that. So.
What about favorite gig so far?
Oh, favorite gigs. I don't know if this is my favorite, but it's definitely a competitor. I don't remember every gig off the top of my head, but a pretty darn good one was when we did our first tour to Germany. After we had done 20 days of touring, which was for us the most we had ever done consecutively. And we had sold out of our merchandise halfway through the tour. We were just really well received. And in the States, a lot of the times it's like you're asking, please come to my show. I need ticket sales. You got to promote this, that, and the other. And when we were in Germany, it didn't feel like that at all. It felt like people were just showing up because they cared. And it's not because we were anybody. Nobody knew who we were, but they were just showing up because they are passionate about music and supporting it. And so we played all these shows, 19 days of shows, and we were just having such a wonderful time. And the last show that we played was at this festival called Rudolstadt in middle Germany, I believe. And we had camped there for 3 days, and it was the end of the tour. Right before we went on stage, we played a couple of shows at this festival, but the last show was on the big stage for us, and there was a huge crowd. And right before I gave the guys a little pep talk, I was like, thank you boys for coming on this journey, for doing all of this hard work to be here. This is an amazing experience for me, and I hope for you. And let's go out there and let's kick some butt and let's kill this last show. And as we walk on the stage, all of a sudden the crowd roars, "Happy birthday to you." And it was my birthday that day. Aww. And so we had a great show, and we went and celebrated with friends afterwards. And it was just it was a peak moment for sure.
Yeah, of course. You remember that one.
Yeah.
Remember that one. Yeah, for sure.
And then Mountain Stage will be the next one, which is really amazing.
Yes. Definitely, I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping that it will be our favorite gig of the year.
Absolutely.
Should we do our rapid fire?
Let's do it. Okay.
We're going to ask you questions. You just answer as the thought comes to you.
Yes.
They're pretty easy, I think.
Okay.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Vinyl, cassette, CD, or streaming?
Vinyl.
First album you ever bought?
The Fugees.
What's your
Score by the Fugees?
I love it.
What's your favorite go-to karaoke song?
Unknown. I don't have one because I like to sing, but karaoke, it's not my
That's
jam.
okay.
I only enjoy it because other people are having fun, but every other part of it I'm not into.
That's okay.
Okay, do you like to write at night, in the afternoon, or the morning?
Morning.
Do you write lyrics on paper, phone notes, voice memos, or computer?
Getting out his
Notebooks.
notebook. Yay!
Us too.
What is your pre-show pump-up song? If you have one.
It's kind of like it's pretty much any Flat and Scruggs song.
Yay. She
There's
named
an
her
album
dog
that
after
I go,
Scruggs.
there's an album that has Doc Watson and Flat and Scruggs together, and anything off of that is like the pre-show pump up music.
Yeah, I have a dog named Scruggs.
Oh, I love that. That's great.
Okay, dogs, cats, fish, birds, or reptiles, or any other kind of pet.
All of the above, all or none, I will say. Except for maybe not reptiles. They make me feel funny, but I want to love them just as much as I love everything else. But
They can be a little creepy.
Yeah.
Okay, describe your sound in 3 words.
Oh God. Oh God.
This is the hard one, I know.
Energetic. Yeah. Energetic, inspired, and true. We don't do anything that doesn't feel true to us.
That's perfect. Yep. What advice would you give to new songwriters and or musicians?
Find the thing that makes you want to do music or songwriting. Figure out what that sound. I mean, I talk about this a lot with other people who are like, oh, I always wanted to learn an instrument. Find the sound that makes you that makes you hungry, that makes you crave, the thing that you really want to listen to. If it's punk music and you hear the drums and the drums are what's driving you, be the drums then. Find your role, find your place, your spot in the thing, and use that, because that will drive you. That will create a hunger and a passion for you to get better, to stay on your path, to do the thing. If you don't have that, you will give up. You will get frustrated and you will stop doing it. And so you must find the thing that you crave about it, whether it's songwriting or musicianship or whatever. But if you don't have that, you won't have drive and you won't get better. You will be relying strictly on your talent, which might be good enough, but it will only get you so far, generally speaking, unless you're really up there.
That hits home.
Yeah, it does. We're struggling to learn guitar.
Yes, we are. So just gonna find the right sound.
Yes.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, like I've only been playing for about 12 years on the dobro, and I still, every time I pick it up, I do my warm-ups, I start slow. And like one of the things is like I'll try to learn a new song and it'll be above my head and I will be so frustrated with it. But you have to get comfortable with that frustration because you desire the sound. You desire, and therefore you'll be hungry to get yourself up there because you're willing to sit through that frustration journey. And I gave a talk about this recently at work about like learning is frustrating. You will knock into walls, you will fall over, and you must have patience with yourself to move through that. Otherwise, you'll give up and you won't get to where you're trying to go.
Great advice. Thank you. Okay, it's time for your shameless plug. Where can we find all of the music and your social media? All of that's a Bandcamp, wherever our listeners can find you.
Yeah, we have a website, colequest.com. And that is your central hub for everything. So that's the best one-stop shop. We have a mailing list. So if you're not a social media person, We have a mailing list, and I know a good percentage of people like to do that. And I spend a lot of time writing fun emails, and I don't send too many emails. I don't even send it for every gig, but I try to send it for the big situations as they come. So we have a mailing list and a website. We also have social media, of course, at City Pickers on Facebook and Instagram. We are definitely on all of the major streaming services. We do appreciate and recommend that listeners go to Bandcamp, citypickers.bandcamp.com. That is the best way to support the artist, and the artist being us in this case. So that's kind of where you can find us. Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us today. It's been fantastic to know you, and we are so excited for the album and everything going forward for you all.
For sure. Thank you very much. Yeah.